The Tennis Gambling Podcast on the Sports Game Podcast Network is brought to you by EdgeBoost. Ben Kimball for better. Sign up today at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN. Get a $25 deposit match bonus. And welcome, everybody, to the Tennis Game Podcast here on the Sports Game Podcast Network. It is currently Saturday night, May 10th, around 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm your host, always, Scott Reichel, once again going solo for this pod. Time to break down the third round, or in other words, the round of 32 here in Rome. It's going to break down some, not all, of the upcoming matches. Before we do that, though, I do want to quickly recap how we did the last episode for the lock and dog picks and for the actual matches from the round of 64. Pretty weird episode because we ended up losing the lock and dog, but we actually had a good episode. If you factor in all the other matches we talked about, just picked poorly for the official plays at the end. For the lock, they'll pick up a loss with Fees team total over 12.5 at minus 138. Got a good line. Didn't matter as Fees destroyed Greek Spore, lost 4 games in the entire match. So Greek Spore no-showed it. Fees was great. He was too good, though, as he went under the team total. For the dog, they'll pick up a loss with Galbus and Chapo over 2.5 sets at plus 145. With that, Galbus was alive to win the match. Thought Chapo, though, would win at least one set. He did not, as Galbus, as the dog, ended up winning in straight sets. So kind of annoying there when you ended up picking a competitive matchup, but at least for the dog to be competitive. And he was too competitive as he won in straight sets. So pretty annoying there for the losses on the lock and dog. But either way, point is to get into the recap of the second round for Rome. We got a lot of things right. Starting off with the Fees match, of course, got that one wrong. Had Fees in the team total over. That didn't work out as he won 6-2, 6-2. We were right accidentally in the Dimitrov and Pizarro match. We liked the under in the match of 21.5. That got there, but Dimitrov lost. So not the way we thought it'd cash, but either way, the under did win. Nakashima won with a walkover as Thompson was too hurt to continue. Saw Kashanov beat Barchuga in 3. Saw Papiron beat Taberner in straight sets. Saw Alcaraz beat Lajovic. I said the 6 might come in handy there for 6.5 on the spread, as he ended up winning exactly by 6. Tsitsipas beat Mueller in straight sets with a breaker, though, in the second set. Thought the Giro would kill Mickelson. He did, as he dropped 3 games the entire match. Saw Musetti beat Virtanen comfortably 6-3, 6-2. Medvedev beat Norrie in straight sets. You saw Moutet beat Humbert. That one we called as a dog, as Moutet ended up winning via retirement in the second set. It was going to be over in about 10 minutes anyway, as he was up 6-3, 4-0. But Humbert decided it wasn't worth it, went home instead. Baez, though, lost to Capriva in a 3-set marathon. Chapo ended up losing to Galbus in straight sets. Saw Rune beat Comasagna. I thought Rune would win a competitive match, as it was, as he ended up winning in 3. Saw Draper beat Darderi in straight sets, and saw Zverev coast to a nice win against Ugo Carabelli. So not too much drama in the first day of the second round. Only 3 of the matches did not end in straight sets, and 1 match didn't happen, as you saw Nakashima advance via a walkover. Moving on, though, to the matches that we ended up seeing on Saturday. This day was also pretty lopsided. The first match, though, was very competitive. With Morozin was alive against Rublev, like the over in that one as well. Got there, as Morozin did win in 3 sets. Magic beat Tien in straight sets. So Berrettini beat Fernley. She probably should have lost second set. Came back and eventually did win in a breaker. Called Offner, beating Tiafoe. That one was plus money. That got there, as Offner did win in 3. Paul beat Batista Agut pretty comfortably. Saw Korda beat Vukic comfortably. Saw Hurkacz beat Martinez in straight sets. Like the Ruud team total over against Bublik, as he won in 3. Giron had a very nice comeback in the second set against Fritz, as Fritz was up 4-0 with love 40 on Giron's serve. And he blew it, or I should say 15-40. It was 4-love, 15-40 for a shot at a 5-0 lead. And he lost the set. So Fritz fell apart there. Giron did win in straight sets. De Jong killed Fokina, 6-0, 6-2. So kind of a shocking outcome there. Winning is one thing, but 2 games, really? That's all Fokina could get in that one. Was kind of a shock. Saw Mensik beat Gigante, 7-6, 7-5. Saw Cerundolo beat Jari in straight sets. Competitive, though, because Jari's been serving well, but Cerundolo did beat him. Saw Felix end up withdrawing from the event. And you saw Delian take his place as a lucky loser, and Delian did beat Seaboth Wild in a 3-set marathon. Shelton got absolutely destroyed. Munar beat him 6-2, 6-1. I don't know what the hell that was from Shelton, but either way, he got absolutely cooked in that match, and he basically no-showed it. Sinner looked good in his first match. Looked, I'd say, better than I thought he was going to look. Thought he'd be a bit rustier early on. He was not. Thought he looked good. He was up a break in the second set, eventually gave it back, but then broke again and served it out to win. But Sinner, first match back in a couple of months, you know what? He looked pretty damn good. So that's kind of how I feel about that one. Navone, I thought, looked fine. Navone, we know, not a great server, still a pretty good clay player, and yet Sinner seemed to be on the, I'd say, front foot more often than not, and you ended up seeing him get a break up early in the first set. Same with the second set, then gave it back and got the break again. But I thought Sinner, overall grading his first match back in a couple months, solid B plus, A minus. I thought it was a solid performance and hopefully looks better as the tournament ends up progressing. But Sinner, the main issue was the, I'd say, first serve percentage at 60%, which is fine. I feel like normally we're expecting a bit higher from him, but I thought Sinner played well once again, and he was able to win in straight sets. And then you end up seeing Dimonauer, who beat Nardi at a competitive straight set win there, 6-4, 7-5. So not too much, I'd say, drama in the matches. In fact, we basically had no seriously dramatic final sets, as every single third set, there weren't many, ended up landing either 10 or less. So we had no 7-5s and no final set breakers. Pretty straightforward for most of the round. Once again, a pretty good round for us. Unfortunately, I chose poorly for the lock and dog plays. But if you backed all the other plays or matches I talked about, you did pretty well. So either way, pretty, as a decent round. We'll try to keep rolling here for the third round of the event. See some comments here. Devin mentioning that Shelton and Greeksport no-showed it. It does seem like, yeah, I kind of can agree with that. I saw Rune, who I thought was off to a bit of a slow start, then he kind of bounced back, was able to find a way to win in 3. I think at the end of the day, Greeksport, I mean, Fees is also really good. I understand what you're saying. I know that Jari was aggressive and he was able to have some success against Cerundolo. Couldn't break at all, but either way, I get what you're trying to say. Shelton, I just thought looked awful. I mean, after losing to Mensick, where he was battling illness a couple of weeks ago or a week ago or so, I thought he'd look a bit sharper. He did not. He was brutal. I feel like the Shelton match was probably a worse showing than the Greeksport match, because it at least Fees a top 20 caliber guy. Munar, I know, is a solid clay player, but he does not have a great serve, and you figure Shelton would maybe keep it somewhat interesting. 3 games? Really? The worst showing was Fekina. Fekina was a mess. Fekina won 2 games in the entire match against De Jong, who I believe lost in qualifying. So that was definitely the biggest alarm bells going off moment. It was Fekina winning 2 games in the entire match there against De Jong. But either way, point is definitely interesting. I see Uneducated wondering why I'm doing this during the Wolves game. Have you seen the Warriors try to score without Steph Curry? It's not pretty. It's really not pretty. I'll catch the second half, but I saw Minnesota was up 8-4. Look, at the end of the day, do I want to watch Draymond and Butler try to run around scoring? Not really. They're down 11. They're down 19-11. This team can't score. Like, I'm just going to be honest here. I thought it was going to be a really boring first half. Thought it would be an ugly game. I'll catch the second half, then I'll probably rewatch some highlights of the first half. But I was not interested in watching Draymond and Butler and whatever Golden State's doing, trying to run around without Curry. That is just not fun to watch. So anyway, I decided to record during the game instead. Hopefully we're done before halftime, and then you can watch second half if the game's competitive. But either way, a point is not really interested in the late game tonight for the NBA. Anyway, moving on to the, I'd say, other news bulletins. I know that Swiatek ended up losing on the women's side, which was the main shock of, I'd say, the weekend so far, as Collins destroyed her. Collins just was really on the front foot the entire match, and she ended up winning 6-1, 7-5. We'll see how Swiatek looks for the French Open, but overall not great right now. So we'll see how that works out, but nice win for Collins there, beating Swiatek on clay, which seems to be relatively, I don't want to say impossible, but I'd say unlikely based on her success on clay in her career. I see a question from Rick, how many units I put on each lock. I'll do each lock to win a unit. So if your unit size, for example, is $100, and I'm betting something that's minus 120, I'll bet $120 to win $100. That's how I do my locks. For my dog, I usually do it to win a unit. Sometimes I'll go a bit more if I feel confident, but my de facto unit size on the locks is always to win a unit. Your own unit's independent to what you like to bet, but I do it to win a unit. So that is how I always determine my unit sizing there. I'm not the kind of guy that's going to be giving out bonus plays like dub club people who have 15 units on one match at 6 in the morning. That's not me. A lock's going to be 1 unit to win a unit. I'm not going to go 5 units bomb whale play at 7 o'clock in the morning. That's not my style. We're more of a marathon, not a sprinter better. We're going to be responsible with the actual unit sizing. So we do 1 unit for each lock. Occasionally, personally, I might dabble a bit more if I feel confident about it. But I basically never go over 2 units, like ever, personally. I try to play the long game here, and I'm not the guy who's going to have 7 plays on 1 card for 45 units at risk and hope for the best. That's not for me. That's for the people that basically scam on Dub Club. So either way, point is I do to win 1 unit for each lock. Anyway, I'm moving on to the actual preview of the third round of the event. Before we get into the actual breakdown of the matches, though, a reminder, you could also support the network by checking out the merch store. We have a new line of merchandise. We have the D-Gens line of gear, which is live in the merch store. And to celebrate, we're taking 20% off everything in the merch store. So use the promo code D-Gens checkout for 20% off everything. You can get some Tennis Scaling Podcast stuff. You can get some shirts, t-shirts, mugs, high quality, different colors, very affordable. And you get 20% off now with the code D-Gens at checkout. Plus, a reminder, we are brought to you by the Circa Ultimate Fantasy Football Giveaway. Because if you're a fantasy football guy, this could be the giveaway you're looking for, because Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas is giving away the ultimate fantasy football experience for a 12-person league to draft in Vegas and be treated like VIPs for their stay. The world will be getting a ton of things. First of all, a 2-night stay at Circa Resort and Casino for the entire 12-person league. Second of all, you can actually host the draft at a cabana in Stadium Swim with a $5,000 food and beverage credit. Third of all, you get to ride in a limo to and from the airport. Fourth of all, you get a welcome party at Legacy Club for the league. Fifth of all, you also get a reservation at the world's largest sportsbook with a $500 beverage credit for the league. Contest is open from May 5th to June 30th. Enter with the link, sportscamppockets.com, so Circa, sportscamppockets.com, so CIRCA. We're also brought to you by Edge Boost, first ever bank cable for bettors. They are ensuring that all gambling transactions are approved, no usage fees, no minimum balance, also cash rewards, 100% approval for opening deposits. And a reminder, you can also sign up at edgeboost.bet with the promo code SGPN, deposit $25 in EdgeBoost match deposit, edgeboost.bet promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Nordic Fantasy. They just launched a new game mode, which is ladders. One up to 500 times your entry, watching your favorite players win the ladder. Sign up with the promo code SGPN. Got a special pick and a first time at offer up to 20k bonus cash on fantasy promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the recap of the second round. Time to move on into the third round here in Rome. Starting off with the first match we're going to talk about. Going to look at the matchup between... You know what? We will go with Papirin against Medvedev first. So Medvedev is a favorite minus 250. Papirin is plus 200. For the spread, minus 3.5 for Medvedev. You plus 3.5 for Papirin. And the over-under is at 22.5 games. Now, for the history between these guys, faced off a couple of times, actually. And pretty much every meeting's been close. Faced off last year in Paris. You saw Papirin win in a final set breaker. Faced off in Miami in 2021. Medvedev won in 3. He won in the Australian Open as well in straight sets. Wimbledon 2019, Medvedev did win in 4. So no meetings on clay, but Papirin's won at least 1 set in 3 of the 4 career meetings, including each of the last 2 and the 1 meeting last year. Medvedev, though, we saw look pretty sharp against Norrie in the first round. Classic matchup where you just saw a bunch of guys with no firepower just rallying back and forth like 20 shots at a time. But Medvedev's better than Norrie, so he got the job done there. But Papirin, though, looked good against Taberner. Which doesn't really mean much, but still a nice win for him. Was in a bit of bad form as he lost to Bublik in Madrid, lost to Wawrinka in a clay challenger, and then he was able to bounce back against Taberner. But Taberner is also a challenger-level guy, so not great competition. Now, I think that Papirin's pretty underrated on clay. Medvedev, I think, is fine on clay. He's not amazing, of course. It's his worst surface, but I think Papirin could be interesting in terms of upset potential. I think Medvedev should win, but I think it should be close. I think 3.5 games is too many for Papirin. I think he can, worst case scenario, force a breaker or 2 and maybe lose in those breakers. But I can see him winning a set here. I can see a pretty close matchup. I think Medvedev wins because I think they'll be able to force enough errors from Papirin over the course of these 2 or 3 sets. But I think you're looking at a spot where Medvedev should win, but he's still not the greatest guy on clay. Papirin will force the issue for better or for worse. He will try to shorten the points. He'll use his serve, trying to limit the effectiveness from Medvedev's rallying skills. I think he'll eventually lose, but I can see Pyron winning a set here. I don't mind the over. Don't mind the plus 3.5 games here for this matchup. Moving on to Mutet against Rune, which should be a pretty fun match, actually. Rune's a massive favorite, though, as Rune's around minus 530. You have Mutet at around plus 380. For the spread, plus 4.5 for Mutet. You have minus 4.5 for Rune. The over-under's at 20.5 games. Now, the head-to-head history is actually intriguing between the two of them because Rune's actually lost 2 of the first 3 meetings. Now, some of them were dated. Face off this year, Indian Wells, Rune won comfortably 6-2, 6-4. Face off in Adelaide in 2022, Mutet won in straight sets. Face off in Adelaide as well about a week prior, and Mutet won in straight sets. So, faced off 3 times, all in hard court, no clay meetings, and you saw Mutet win 2 out of 3. Now, I think Rune, in the first round, looked fine. Slow start. Makes sense after not playing after losing in Madrid via retirement in the first match there. So he was a bit rusty early on, then he was able to find his rhythm, and he was able to win in a competitive 3 sets. I like Komasanya, though. I think he's a pretty good young player, so no shame in that, winning in 3. For Mutet, he ended up beating Chikata in 3 sets and beat Humbert, who may or may not have been injured entering the match, but either way, he won that one, only dropping 3 games in the process. The question is, do I think Rune will win comfortably, or do I think Rune will mess around and make it interesting? You know what? I'm going to go with option B. I think Rune will mess around and let Mutet hang in there. I think Rune will win the match, but I think that Mutet could, in theory, win a set. 4.5 games feels pretty hefty to me, especially with how unique Mutet's playstyle is, with the drop shots, with the variety. He can be very frustrating to play, and Rune can definitely have some mental lapses over the course of matches. So I actually like the dog here. I'll plus the games. Think Rune should win, but Mutet's been playing better, and I do think his game translates well to the courts here in Rome. So give me a closer match here. Give me the Mutet plus 4.5 games for this one. Moving on to the next match, you have, we'll jump around a little bit. For this one, we will go with Pizarro against Kashanov. Now, for this one, Kashanov's a decent favorite. Kashanov is around minus 285 or so. Pizarro's around plus 225. For the spread, minus 3.5 for Kashanov, plus 3.5 for Pizarro. The over-under is at 22.5 games. Now, Kashanov had a pretty interesting first match here in Rome as he went to 3 sets against Borichuga, who's a pretty solid young clay player. But I think he's mostly a challenger guy. Can be dangerous, though, on clay. I'll admit it. Now, for Pizarro, he ended up beating Sang in 3 sets and beat Dimitrov in straight sets. So I do think that Pizarro can keep this interesting. Now, I think that Kashanov is worthy being a favorite. You could argue that's a bit steep at 285. I'd probably have Kashanov at around 200, give or take. I mean, he beat Dimitrov in straight sets. So clearly Pizarro knows how to play on clay, and it's in his home country in Italy, which can be a very intimidating environment if you are against the home country guy. So for me, I am going to go with Pizarro to keep this close as well. I think he wins a set. The games, though, I might stay away from because I can see a world where Kashanov loses a breaker and then maybe wins in 3. But I am going to go with the Kashanov team total over at 12.5 at minus 132. I think it's a good way to cover a couple of scenarios. Pizarro wins a close 3-set match. You're in a good spot. Kashanov maybe wins a competitive set, and then Kos, you get that too. Couple of paths to get there, but I think that Kashanov will find himself in one close set, maybe even losing a set, and then winning in 3. So a couple ways to get there, but I am going to go with Kashanov team total over at 12.5 as my main thought for that matchup. Moving on to the last match of the day, we're going to look at a matchup between Degir and Alcaraz. Alcaraz, massive favorite, obviously, as Alcaraz is around minus 900. Degir, though, is plus 650. For the spread, minus 5.5 for Alcaraz is plus 115. Plus 5.5 for Degir is minus 150. The over-under in games is set at 20.5. Faced off, actually, in the past on clay. Faced off this year in Barcelona about a month ago, give or take. Alcaraz won 6-2, 6-4. Faced off in Buenos Aires about 2 years ago, and Alcaraz won in 3 sets. So, at first glance, I think I like the under in this match. Alcaraz, I thought, looked pretty good against, once again, Lajovic in his first match, as I thought he was able to find the forehand. I thought that he was a little bit vulnerable at times, but he had not played since retiring in Madrid. He had not played since the final in Barcelona. So he had not played for a couple weeks, might have been a bit rusty. I thought he looked fine for the most part. Degir looked very good. Mickelson, I'm not the biggest fan of in terms of his clay talent, and Echeverry's had a pretty down year, still been winning these matches comfortably. Alcaraz, I think, should win in straight sets. Problem is trying to find value for the straight sets, and there's 2 approaches. It's either Alcaraz for the team total over, if you're picking him to win one competitive set, or you just go for the full match under and you call it a day, where you're just picking Alcaraz to win like 6-4, 6-3, something like that. I might meet in the middle, though, and go with option C. I'm going to go with DeGier team total under. I'll go with the under 8.5 here. I think DeGier can keep one set competitive, maybe even losing in a breaker, get blasted in the second set, and he ends up losing the team total anyway, or going under the team total. So I go with that approach. I think that Alcaraz has been playing fine. Of course, best clay player in the world right now, and DeGier has been very good on the courts here in Rome, but that was against, once again, Mickelson, who's not great on clay, and Echeverry's been pretty bad so far this season. Alcaraz, I think, will look sharp here. I can see a similar scoreline to what we saw against Lajovic, 6-3, 6-3, maybe a 6-4 in there. But if there's a 7-5 or 7-6, you're not totally dead. So give me the Alcaraz, once again, winning in straight sets method to reduce some juice. Give me the DeGier team total under 8.5 for that one. Moving on to the matches for the Monday card. For this one, we're going to start off with the matchup between, you know what, we'll go with Munar against Korda. For this one, Korda is a favorite, but not by a lot. Korda's around minus 140, give or take, minus 135. If you want to shop around, you might be able to find better lines. For this one, though, you have Munar at around plus 110. So in the past, it faced off one time in Spain about 3 years ago. I believe it was a challenger, and you ended up seeing Korda win on hard court in straight sets. Means nothing. That was on hard court about 3 years ago. Munar, though, beat Barros Vera in a competitive three-setter in the first round, then beat Shelton in whatever the hell that was from Shelton in the second round. But he was in bad form before that, as he ended up losing to Vacherat in a clay challenger, lost to Agut in the first match in Madrid, lost to Khachanov in Madrid, in Barcelona as well. So he was not playing well before entering the event, but now he's kind of found his form. For Korda, beat Vukic in the match on Saturday. Vukic isn't very good this season. Lost to Ruud in Madrid. No shame in that. Ruud won the title. Beat Cena in 3. Both guys have not exactly looked that sharp lately. I think that Korda is the better player, but I think Munar can hang in there. Don't mind the over 2.5 sets. I'll bank on Korda to be an idiot for about 20 minutes, and it might be enough for Munar to win a set. I think it'll be close, though. I think that Munar is alive to win it. So maybe you could argue that Munar in 3 has some value, maybe a team total. But I don't mind the potential over 2.5 sets here to be greedy. I think Korda can win, but I do think that he can win, I'd say, uncomfortably. And I see that happening in this one. Give me the over 2.5 sets here. I would pick Munar for the value, but I think that Korda can definitely pull this off. But I see it being close. So give me the over 2.5 sets for that matchup. Moving on to the matchup between, you know what we'll cover? We'll go with Sinner and De Jong. For this one, Sinner is a massive favorite, as he's around minus 1,500, give or take. We're going to talk about it because it is a second match since coming back. So I see 1,400 on DraftKings. De Jong is plus 900. For these straight sets, you have Sinner to win in straight sets of minus 350. You have De Jong to win a set at a very juicy price if you're interested in that kind of thing. You can find De Jong to win a set at plus 245. The over 2.5 sets, I believe, is around plus 290. Now, the question is, will Sinner win this comfortably, or will De Jong hang in there? You know what? I'll give De Jong actually a fighting chance to keep this somewhat interesting. I'm going to pick Sinner to win, probably in straight sets, but I do think De Jong has shown good form recently. Beat Fonseca, saw him beat Fekina, only dropping 2 games. So I thought Sinner looked good for the most part. The serve was not as dominant as usual, but I do think that you're looking at De Jong, who can keep it interesting. He once won a set of Alcaraz in the French Open, so I do think that De Jong can keep one set competitive. That might be enough. The spread, though, is going to be massive for Sinner here, and I do think you're looking at what could be a spread of like 6.5, give or take. I want to see if I can actually find what the spread is, trying to dig for it, because some books have it, some books don't. So I want to quickly see if I could find the spread. So just bear with me for a second. The spread's going to be massive, though, so I'm not interested in laying that with Sinner. You can basically find 5.5 or 6.5, and I'll go with the plus 6.5. I think Sinner will win the match, but De Jong's been good lately. Sinner's played 1 match in suspension. I think that it's a good spot for a situation where De Jong loses, but I'd say he puts up a good fight. I'll put it that way. I think he'll end up losing, I'd say, respectably in what I think will be a 6-4, 6-4 type match. So give me De Jong plus the games for that one. Sinner wins, but does not cover. Moving on to the matchup between Berrettini and Ruud. Might be the match of the round, maybe. You could argue that it's fees and Tsitsipas, but it should be a fun matchup either way. Ruud, though, is a favorite about minus 180. You have Berrettini at plus 145. For the spread, minus 2.5 for Ruud, plus 2.5 for Berrettini. The over-under in games at 22.5. The history is a bit long between the two of them. They have faced off a handful of times, faced off a grand total of 7 times, and Ruud and Berrettini have had mixed results. So looking at the actual meetings here, it is 4-3 in favor of Ruud, faced off in the United Cup 2023. Most recent meeting, Berrettini won in straight sets. So we are a bit dated here. They've not played in over 2 years. However, Ruud has won 2 of the last 3. Faced off, though, in Madrid in 2021, Berrettini did win. Faced off in Rome, this exact event, 2020, and Ruud won in 3. And they faced off in the French Open 2019, and Ruud did win in straight sets. So Berrettini is the most recent winner on clay, but Ruud is currently... Ruud actually won in Gstaad. I skipped that one in 3. So Ruud in that history has been great on clay against Berrettini. Couple of very close matches, but Ruud on clay is currently 3-1 lifetime, so I expect him to look sharp here. Now, I thought he'd be in a bit of a war against Bublik, and he was. I think a similar scripts in store here. Berrettini was fine against Fernley, was down a break in the second set, came back and won the breaker. Ruud, though, I think will win. You might see a competitive matchup, though. I like the Ruud team total over at 12.5 games here at minus 132. I see a breaker potentially. I see a 3-setter potentially, maybe even a 7-5. But you're looking at what I think should be a match full of holds with Berrettini being involved. Crowd will be involved in it as well. Give me Ruud to win at least one set in a competitive fashion, and then at that point, you might end up getting there no matter what, whether he wins or loses in 3. But you're looking at the history, and we have seen at least one tiebreak in 3 of the last 5 head-to-head meetings. And I said before, a lot of the clay meetings have been very close in the past. Give me a close battle that I think that Ruud eventually wins, but I will go with the team total over 12.5 at minus 132 is my main thought for this one. Moving on to the next match. This will be the last match we're going to talk about on the show. And look at the matchup between Paul and Makic. Now, for this one, Paul's a favorite. I'd say a decently sized favorite compared to what you might have thought you're going to end up getting. But Paul in this one is, once again, the favorite of about, let me just find the exact number here. I see about minus 150, give or take. I see Makic at plus 120. For that history, Makic is 2-0. Both meetings were on hard court last year in Shanghai and Tokyo. Makic won both meetings in a 3rd set. Now, Paul did beat Busta comfortably. Doesn't mean anything, because Busta is not really good at this stage in his career. But you're looking at Makic, who beat Tien, who's also not really great on clay as a rally guy with really no firepower, and he won 6-4, 6-4. Now, for this matchup, I understand why Paul's favored. However, I don't see any value on Paul. I'll go with Makic on the money line at plus 120. Could go 3 sets, but he's 2-0 in the head-to-head. Makic, I think, is a pretty underrated clay player. Beat Djokovic on clay last year, for example. Paul, I know, can be very streaky, and I do think that can work against him in this matchup. But Makic is firepower. He can also rally. He can force Paul onto the back foot, and if he's able to come forward, I think Makic can use the firepower that he has to overwhelm Paul on multiple occasions. So I am going to go with Makic here for the value. I think plus 120 is a good price. I'll take that as my main thought for this match. Anyway, let's go wrap it up for the preview of the the preview of the 3rd round here in Rome. Now it's time for the Lock and Dog plays. For that, the reminder, they're brought to you by our sponsor, Rhythm. Because if you want AI-backed picks and props, they can help you with that because they dominate the NBA playoffs, and they can help you dominate if you want to actually tailor their plays. You can also use them for the MLB prop market with Rhythm. Download your own model, simple and easy to do. Also try it for free for a week by using their 7-day free trial. And a reminder, they have 2 discount codes, one for a month, one for a month. So you have a month and a year, as the 2 time lengths there for different codes. 25% off the quarter, quarter off the monthly subscription with the promo code SGPN25. You get half off the annual subscription with the promo code SGPN50. There's Rhythm promo code SGPN25 or SGPN50. Once again, try the free trial for a week by using the code or the link sportscampodcast.com/RATHMM. We're also brought to you by my bookie. Because my bookie.ag is placed in every sport. They have the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs. They have tennis as well, UFC, you name it. You also can bet on props in every game. Also use the actual site for a ton of occasions. Also use crypto for your deposits, any fast payouts. And a reminder, you can also use the sign-up code SGPN when you sign up for your new account. Get a 100% match up to $1K. Terms and conditions apply. Book at ADG. Promo code SGPN. Welcome back, everyone, to the Tennis Game Podcast. Finished going through the third round of Rome. Now it's time for the lock and dog plays. Now, we skipped a couple matches we're going to get back to for the lock and dog. For the lock, going to go to the Mensik match against Morozin. Give me Mensik team total over 12.5 at -105. Love the price. It was on DraftKings. Think this price is way off. Morozin and Mensik are involved in a ton of long sets, and I do think both guys can serve quite well. Mensik, though, is at a 7-5 or 7-6. Set in 8 of his last 11 matches. We know Mensik is a bit of a tiebreaker magnet, and the serve can be very good. Returning skills can be up and down. Morozin, though, is also involved in a lot of competitive sets. He's had a 7-5 or a 7-6 set in 5 straight matches. So I do like the fact that both guys tend to have at least one competitive set. We saw Mensik have a 7-6 and a 7-5 in his match against Gigante in the first round. I think you'll see a breaker, maybe a 7-5, but I see a couple of ways to get there for Mensik. Give me the team total over for his, once again, number here at 12.5 as my lock at -105. For the dog, going to go with a money line parlay. Going to go with Fees money line with Musetti money line at +109. Fees has never lost a set to Tsitsipas. He is 3-0. One of them was a retirement 2 games in, but he did win both previous meetings in straight sets. Fees, though, I think is the better player right now. He's in good form, beating Griekspoor and only dropping 4 games in the process. Tsitsipas, though, I thought was fine against Mueller, went to a breaker, was not really in great form before it, though, as he went to a deciding set against Struff, who's been really bad for about a year, and then lost to Musetti in straight sets. I think Fee's in good form, and I think that he is getting a pretty decent price here for a parlay leg for this one. I'll take him to get the job done on the money line for the first leg. For the second leg, we know Musetti is an elite clay player. We know that Nakashima is really not. Nakashima also has not played a match yet on the courts here. He had a walkover because Thompson got hurt. So I do like the fact that Nakashima will be rusty on the courts here. We also know that Musetti will stand far back on the court. Nakashima, not really a great, I'd say, volleyer per se. So he can potentially neutralize the good serve that Nakashima has. I think for Tannen in the first round is actually a pretty good tune-up match for Nakashima, stylistically speaking. So I see Musetti winning this one, and I think it's a good way to, once again, reduce the juice on Fees money line to get this into plus money. So once again, the plays here for the third round of Rome. The lock's going to be on Mensik team total over 12.5 games at -105. So team total over 12.5, -105. For the lock, for the dog, give me Fees money line with Musetti money line and a parlay at +109. That's going to wrap it up, though. We're back once again for the round of 16 in Rome in a couple days. Till next time, good luck to all of you and all of